episode of Buff's Garage. I'm fixing the Harvester of Sorrow because I broke it again. This, my friends, is the Harvester of Sorrow. We have liftoff. Look at that. I wonder what that noise is. Don't you love it when the email you got is from your email? Just more spam. Which brings me to the sponsor of this week's video, Incogni. Data brokers affect everyone. Anyone nowadays can go online and just type in what information they know and track you down. I wonder who that is.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Yeah. How are you? Yes, this is the place. Yep, you found it. How did you find me? Okay. Is there any way you could come back in like 15 minutes or so? I'm shooting a video right now. Give me 15 minutes and come back. Yeah, that'll work. Data brokers selling your information online makes it available for pretty much anybody to find, well, anybody. Data brokers find every little piece of information they can, put it all together, and put it out on the web. And it's readily available for anybody that wants to find it. There's really no way to prevent people's search sites from being used to harass people, stalk people, or any number of illegal activities. They really kind of put your safety and peace of mind at risk because anyone can access it and they just show up whenever they want. And most of the time your personal information is being sold online behind the scenes without you even knowing it. But with Incogni, they reach out to those data brokers and negotiate on your behalf to have your information removed from their databases. They request your personal data removal, handle any objections from their side, and the whole process is automated. Incogni also takes care to make sure your information stays off the market by repeated requests to remove your information. And they work to take data down as soon as it pops up again. And that's what makes their yearly subscription such a great deal, because with one-time fee, you just sit back and let Incogni handle it. And Incogni comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So take your personal data back with Incogni. Use the code BuffsGarage below and get 60% off an annual plan. And with their 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk to try it. Now with Incogni taking the reins of my personal data, I feel rest assured that I can get back to work. Oh, that's right. I did tell him he could come back for a tour. I should have got Incogni sooner. I'm coming. Oh, hey guys. You're probably wondering why I'm hammering a chisel into the engine of the Harvester of Sorrow here. And, well, let me show you. The camera's never rolling when there's a failure, generally. If you have one of these OBS Chevys, or pretty much anything in the 90s, you'll know what this is. And if you don't, you will eventually. So this piece is fitted onto the intake with some plastic garbage. It connects your heater hose from your heater core into your intake. So in normal cars would just use this, right? They have a convoluted setup here, but then it had plastic here, and then the heater hose, which is this piece here, then snaps in there with that little plastic retainer. Yes, GM uses it on a lot of things, not just their heater hose, but also their fuel lines and everything else. In their mind, it was easier. But for the rest of us,
we like just a heater hose with a good old hose clamp on it. Problem solved. With heat to metal mismatch. Granted, this has been sitting a while and it's an older truck, but over time, with enough water and heat, it corroded the threaded part off of this. So now the threaded part is in the intake. How fun is that? So my goal today is to try to get what's left of those threads out of the intake, clean up the threads, put in just a regular hose nipple here, and we'll put heater hose between here and what's left of our other heater hose, right? Connect them together, and that should eliminate leaks, and of course replace that ridiculous piece of hardware. I'm trying to make this a doing video and not a talking video, but there's not a lot to see. Here's the offending hole. You can see through all the stuff there. Obviously, it's basically turning to powder. But what I'm trying to do is get it knocked away from the threads, and then I'll put a tap in there and I'll clean up the threads. And hopefully, without getting too much metal into the engine, we can get this problem fixed. But I'm slowly chipping away at it. And as chunks come off, I just hit them with the vacuum, get them out of there. As much as possible, trying not to get it in the cooling system, but let's be clear, this cooling system's so full of junk anyway. Probably gonna have to replace the brand new radiator we put in at some point. You can drop in comments below on how you would do this. I've looked at the forums. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but none of them are easy or fun. Well, I'm getting really creative. I fashioned a drill bit into a socket, which shouldn't work, but it's a 12-point socket, and I used a hammer. So I sacrificed one socket to try to make it work, and it kind of worked, because you can't get a drill at this angle. It'd be great if I just pull the engine, but why would I pull the engine for one thing? I've also heard I can use like a metal cutting blade and cut into that till we hit thread, and then maybe cut another section out and then just hammer it out. Well, I fashioned this metal cutting blade, a pair of vice grips as a handle, and it has worked its way through a little bit. It's starting to chip away a little bit, but it's better than it was. So I'm going to keep working on it, see if we can't get it chipped out of there, and then clean those threads up and get this thing back to work. Well, I quickly tired of that, so I tried something different. So I ended up getting a tap that's about the size of the inner diameter. I went ahead and cut some new threads. I found a bolt that matches the threads and the pitch, and I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to thread it in there, and then we're going to see if I can ratchet it back out. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't even know if it's even going to thread in. There we go. Getting snug now. It doesn't want to stay. Let's try a different bolt. Well, I got another bolt, just slightly longer, not really any bigger. It's same thread and pitch, and it's tightening down. It's probably digging through, but it's definitely not removing it that I'm aware of here. So another idea tried, but it's better to keep trying. Even my Dremel's too big to fit in this space. Just kind of tight in there. I think I'm gonna dig the metal cutting blade back out for a little bit. Whew! Well, I got the majority of it out of there, but I'm gonna have to hit it with a tap. And wouldn't you know it, I've got the size smaller and the size bigger, but I don't have that tap. Never fails. So, I do have a new air conditioner compressor that I bought last year, and it is getting warmer out. So I'm going to go ahead and start disassembling this stuff. It's already past time to go to the hardware store, so I'll have to pick that up tomorrow. But for now, I can at least get the front end disassembled, get the AC compressor out, and gonna go ahead and change the tensioner too on the belt. And unfortunately, this is a truck where part of the bolts and stuff are standard and part are metric. The bolt for this air conditioner compressor is in fact metric, 15 millimeter. What a pain. If you happen to have one of these tools, it really helps when you're working with cars that are kind of crammed in there. And since I don't want to take all this stuff off the front, it gives you just enough leverage with enough space. You're not going to end up smashing your knuckles. Now thankfully I evacuated the remainder of the high pressure refrigerant out of this whole system before I started. And I evacuated it appropriately. Bigger pry bar. Now it'll come out. Oh yeah. Broken parts. That's a problem. That's all right. We have a new one. So these parts have been sitting in the background of probably every video you guys have watched because I bought these at the same time I started working on this truck. Unfortunately, I jumped to other things and never got back to finishing this whole install. I got a new air conditioner compressor right there. Stay. And I got a new pulley for the tensioner. There we go. Alright, so new air conditioner compressor, new idler pulley. Get those things installed. And then we'll get our tool tomorrow morning to start fixing the rear, like tapping out that hole that we have been working on for most of the day. And once it's retapped, we'll get the new nipple put in, get a piece of hose in. That will seal up this system, which is actually not great because this system's still really dirty. You guys have made some pretty good suggestions on how to flush this out, and I think we're about ready to do that again. Summer's coming and we don't want a hot truck. This is the pancake style GM air conditioner compressor. It basically looks exactly like the one I took out. We've got gaskets here for it. It looks like it's the same. For me, it's really important to check and double check because even though it doesn't look exactly like what came out, this has an extra pigtail on it, which will hook into our wiring that we have already. And this setup looks a little different than the one that came off. It's got a different clutch on the front, all of which should still work just fine. So I'm going to very carefully get it dropped in here. And first things first, I want to hook up those high and low pressure lines because this comes pre-filled already, so I don't have to add any oil. We're just going to have to add our refrigerant. And the bolt holes don't line up. Big surprise. A little tappy tap. Oh man, that is money. That is perfection. Tappy tap. All right, all the bolts, nuts, seals, everything has now been lined up thanks to the tappy tap. All right, that's not going anywhere. Now we have this newfangled plug that plugs in, like they took a smaller 2-prong and adapted it to the bigger one so that the bigger one would work, but it just fell on the ground. Let's try this again. AC's on. Let's go ahead and hit this bracket. Got your wrench stuck. Try the double wrench trick. Take your wrench and you lock it in where you need it to be. Then you take your other wrench and you feed that open end inside and you link them together. That gives you just enough leverage to break this bolt loose without breaking my fingers. Yep, that's what it took. Trying to make sure the nut on the back doesn't move, and it seems to be stationary, so just going, and just like that. I'm not 100% convinced that this was bad, but it was making a lot of tick 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 noises. I mean, it's still doing a pretty good spin without slowing down, but you can hear it. So I got a new one. Compare them side by side. They look very similar. They have used different materials. This one's a steel, this one's a plastic. Here's the beauty. If it doesn't work, we can keep the old one and put it back in. I got my tensioner tool out again. Make sure your routing is correct, that you're not off by one rib, because that will quickly destroy a belt. I'm completely off over here. Okay. Tensioner's got tension. Belt looks like it's on all of the pulleys without being off by one rib or so. Nope, they're completely lined up. Now all I got to do is get out some refrigerant, and I'm going to go ahead and change out these valve cores for both the high and the low side. I like to change those out anytime I'm working on AC. That is the place where they are most prone to leak. I'm at a standstill, so I really need to get that heater hose fixed. So, yeah, in the morning. Well, I'm back this morning. I got my new tap. We needed the girth. So, this is my 1/2-inch NPT, which will hopefully finish cleaning out the threads on the intake. I went ahead and cleaned up the cap. It's new-ish, but I think because of the water leak, it was causing issues. I think water was getting inside the cap. So I went ahead and sanded everything, gave it a little scuff, cleaned it up, and I also noticed, and this could have been because of the water leak, that my tack was jumping all over the place. So a while back I bought a new coil. I've just never switched it. So I'm going to go ahead and switch that out today too. So when I don't have the room to get in there, like with a drill or with a tap handle, because I like to do it, you know, really slow. Slow and steady wins the race. I will instead find a socket that fits my tap, and we'll hook it to the ratchet there, but to make sure nothing falls apart, I'm going to put my socket on my tap. I'm going to take a little bit of electrical tape or whatever kind of way you want to fasten it together. I wouldn't JB weld it because now you've lost your tap and your socket. But this basically holds it onto the socket. It's not going to fall into the abyss of unknown that is the big block engine in this OBS, because that happens sometimes. You end up with something that's basically sitting on top of the trans in that tunnel and never to be seen again until it flings out on the highway and into somebody's windshield. So I got my tap in my socket, got my ratchet. See if we can clean out these threads. Get that tap in there, get everything lined up. Yeah, it's cutting. If it starts to get hung up, we can always back it back out. Drop a little cutting fluid on it. Yes, this is going to get a few chunks and shavings in the passages. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about it. I've said this before, this whole system needs to be flushed and cleaned out. So hopefully as we do that throughout the summer, we'll end up with a fairly clean system. It's never going to be great. Well, a tap is not just a one-way device, so you're going to want to back it out a little bit and clean out all the junk that's collected into it. Because for every bit of this we get cleaned out, it's not in your engine, which is great. Clean your hole. With a lot of manual torque and a generous amount of lube, got the hole reamed out. Take a look. There we go. It's not the prettiest, but it does have threads again. It's got to work better than what was there. It's threading. If it leaks, we can always back it back out, throw some JB weld on it. Not only will it be permanent, but it'll never leak. That's a problem for the next guy. I need this thing to be flawless. It's going to be hot this summer. We've got some towing jobs to do. I mean, it's not my only truck, but it's the biggest truck. Oh, she's snug. We've bottomed out. Yep, that's what you want. You want to bottom out. All right. Whew, let's hook her back up and hope we don't leak. Now, obviously, this doesn't fit onto there. This was a push-in connector. It had a plastic seal here that clipped into the old one. We don't like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push her back just a little bit, and we're gonna put heater hose on there with some clamps. This should act as a pretty good stop to hold my heater hose on. And then of course we've got a lip on that one. I think it'll be good to go. Well, here's the finished product. Could I have done it better? Sure I could have. And so can you. But as long as it doesn't leak, it's going to fulfill my needs of moving coolant through the system, keeping this thing cool. All right, so at this point, I guess I've got to start it. We got to top off our radiator and burp it because we opened lines, so there's going to be air in there. And we'll start testing everything. So I'm going to go ahead and try to start this now. And I don't know if you remember, but when I tried to time this before, I timed it off of the balancer pulley, and the balancer was bad. It ejected itself. I put the new one on, never retimed it. That could be one of the many reasons why it didn't run very well. That and all of my vacuum lines weren't hooked up. I thought I got them all, like they were plugged with screws, but they weren't going to the things they're supposed to go to. So I got it all put back together. No idea if it's timed correctly, but I do have a timing light. Let's see if it even starts. I'm going to say our timing's off. All right, I adjusted the timing just a little bit. Let's see if that did any good. I feel like the whole distributor's off. Like it still needs to be cranked. So let's see if this makes a mess. Well, a couple things. Number one, I need more shims for my starter. It's got a shim in it, but not enough. It needs more shim. Let's give this distributor a little cranky crank. And remember, when you are trying to time these, there's a tan wire up in this big loom back here. You're going to want to make sure that that's unhooked. And we want to set her to like 0 and then rehook it back up and it'll set its own timing. Well, now that we're at 0, we need to plug our tan wire back in here, and then we need to get it up to temp and burp our cooling system. Okay, let's try again. Take a minute to learn. out. The smoke you see here is because I put some coil on these bolts. I want to remove all the smog stuff. But I also have a bolt missing right there, which is why I have an engine tick, a little bit of a exhaust leak. Alright, more bubbles. Got tired of leaving a mess in the garage here, so pulled it out here. Got the front of it up, so hopefully it'll get as much air out as possible. Looks like it still have bubbles coming out. I still wonder if there's some passages in the engine or somewhere that are plugged up with whatever junk this is, and I mean, it's obvious it's still really dirty. I've been advised to try this vinegar flush, and I think once we get it running good and not leaking, I will absolutely do that. I see no leaks from the backside now. I might have accidentally fixed it. Now we're really flowing. That's with the fans off, but I got the heater all the way on to make sure we don't have any leaks. And check back here. There's no leaks back there, so that fixes good. This is starting to overflow, but it's no longer got the bubbles, so we can probably put the cap back on. There was a bubble. But now I've got to go ahead and put my cores back in and get my AC charged. Went ahead and shut her off. Let it cool down. See if I need to top this off at all. Alright, so anytime I work on an air conditioning system, I like to... this one's been retrofitted, kind of. Like, it's got the old style here. You can get one of these kits off of Amazon. Even Temu has them. Of course, you can find them at O'Reilly's. But they usually come with this Schrader valve kit, the small one and the large one. And then, of course, a variable amount of different styles of the cores that you want to replace. Get just messed up. Well, let's see if I can fish it out. There we go. When you're dealing with small parts like this and it's in a confined space, go back to the medical field and get yourself a pair of hemostats. Alright, we got that Schrader valve installed. I'm not putting a full set of gauges on this. Yes, I know. Go ahead. Tell me all about it. But for right now, we're just going to put some refrigerant in it on the low side and see what happens. Plus put a set of gauges on it. I know. Check the high and low pressures. Yeah, well, maybe another day. I do have gauges. I think they're on the wall over there. Okay, so this was retrofitted. This 89 actually did have R12 in it, and it does call for 2.5 pounds. These are 12 ounces a piece, so you divide that by 16, or no, times that by 16. Yeah, 2.5 times 16 gets you 40. So I need about 3.3 of these cans, and I do have about 3.3. These are all left over from when I went to the desert in the A-Team van. Always keep your stuff. Take our compressor kits off. Get in there. Compressor's staying on now. Well, I usually have a vent thermometer. Oh, it's already colder. It's not icy cold, but it's coming out colder. We'll take that. All right, let's get another can in it. Again, much colder. Not icy cold, but much, much colder. I bet it does need that extra half a can to get there. But temp's holding good. Oil pressure looks phenomenal. Alright, she's pretty icy cold now. It is cold, and that's what matters. Well, there you have it. I found a problem that I didn't realize that I had that developed over time. I kind of knew what the issue might be, and then of course I checked all the forums. Get on the internet. There is a ton of information out there. Ask people that have these vehicles and say, hey, what could be going on? Well, this one was pretty obvious once I kind of took the air cleaner off and everything. You could see where it was leaking, and it was, thankfully, I guess it was full of rust, because rust was everywhere and I could see where the starting point was. Most people would be like, it's a nightmare, I'm not dealing with it. You take it to a shop, they're gonna say, I don't wanna deal with it. But I've just shown you that you can do it. It takes time and patience. You do need to buy a couple of tools, but I homemade my own saw. So once I realized that I could make those cuts into like little pie shapes and then chisel them out, I tried not to lose them down into the intake, but let's be honest, there's probably some stuff already in there. We're just gonna have to flush it out anyway. You guys saw how muddy it was. So there you go. With a few tools and a lot of patience, you too can get your vehicle back on the road. Thanks for watching Buff's Garage. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. And don't forget the notification bell, because YouTube seems to be forgetting that I'm putting out videos and you guys aren't seeing them. Put a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see next. Thanks for watching. Well, now what, Mr. Harvester of Sorrow?